On a family cruise, my daughter spent 3 hours waiting alone in the hot sun, while the rest of the family went on a private excursion without her. They acted like it was no big deal. Then she said, "Will you do what you promised?" I said, "Yes." By dinner, the whole family was in complete panic mode. We found her standing near the edge of the dock, towel in her hands, goggles dangling from one wrist like she'd forgotten they were there. She wasn't crying. That made it worse. My husband, Daniel, saw her first. "Celia." She looked up when she heard his voice. No running hug, no outburst. Just a small nod, like she was confirming what she already suspected. We were back, and she was still alone. We walked toward her, slow at first, unsure of what we were even looking at. The sun was brutal that day. Her cheeks were flushed. Her hair stuck to her forehead in messy curls. She'd clearly been out there a while. "Where is everyone?" I asked. "They went," she said. I didn't understand. "They left already?" "They left without me." She said it like it wasn't surprising, like she'd practiced saying it out loud while she waited. "They gave your spot to someone else?" Daniel asked. Celia nodded. "Asher threw a fit. He wanted to go. Aunt Jill gave him my spot and told me to be the mature one." Aunt Jill is my sister. Her son Asher is 9. Celia is 11 and had been talking about this excursion, snorkeling, cliff jumping, boat rides, for weeks. "She said I could read or use my phone," Celia added. "But my battery died, so I just waited." I looked at her, sun in her eyes, towel around her shoulders, trying very hard not to seem small. Her lips were cracked. Her arms were pink from the heat. Her ponytail had wilted halfway down her back. She'd clearly been there a while. Daniel didn't say anything, just stood next to me very still, his jaw clenched, the way it does when he's trying not to break something. "She didn't even ask me," Celia said quietly. "She just told me to understand." There was a pause. Then she looked at me, not angry, not even sad, just tired, and said, "Does it count? Will you do what you promised?" "Yes," I said. "I will." Celia smiled. "Cool." 3 hours later, the family chat exploded, and by dinner, everyone was shouting in a panic. People talk about adoption like it's just a form you fill out. You decide, you apply, and one day you pick up a child and call it a family. It wasn't like that for us. I spent 4 years trying to get pregnant. 4 years of vitamins and ovulation trackers and whispered optimism. 4 years of sitting in waiting rooms with one hand on my stomach like I could will it to work. We tried everything, except giving up. Somewhere around year 2, I started having recurring dreams where I was already a mom. Not pregnant, just a mom. The kid was always different. Sometimes a toddler, sometimes older. Sometimes she'd look like me, sometimes not at all. But she always called me Mom like it was the most natural thing in the world. I'd wake up crying, then get up and try again. By year 4, we were sitting in a social worker's office talking about foster to adopt. She warned us it wouldn't be easy, that it could take a long time, that there were no guarantees. We nodded like we understood, but we didn't. Not really. And then there was Celia. She came to us at 6 years old. Brown eyes, tightly coiled curls, arms folded across her chest like she was holding something in. The first night she was in our house, she didn't speak. Not even when I offered her ice cream. She just looked at me like she was already waiting to be disappointed. She came from a hard background. I won't tell her story for her, but I'll say this. She had every reason not to trust the world. At night, I'd hear her crying softly through the walls. Not the loud, dramatic kind. The kind kids do when they're trying not to bother anyone. I'd sit outside her door and whisper that she was safe now, that she could take all the time she needed. It took months for her to call me anything at all. When she finally whispered Mom for the first time, she said it like a test. I pretended I didn't hear it, just smiled to myself while doing dishes, then went into the bathroom and cried for 10 minutes straight. Daniel took longer to win her over. She was wary of him at first, but he never pushed. Just showed up every single day, sat on the floor while she colored, let her help him fix things that didn't really need fixing, held out his hand every morning and let her decide whether or not to take it. She did, eventually. One day she walked up behind him while he was changing a light bulb and said, "Be careful, Dad." He dropped the bulb. We both pretended it was an accident. We didn't know if we'd get to keep her. That was the hardest part. Every court date felt like holding our breath. Every phone call from her caseworker made my heart race. I wanted to love her like forever, but I was terrified of the day someone might take her away. And then came the day the judge said yes. The paperwork was done. The ink was dry. The caseworker hugged us and called me Mom, like it had always been true. Celia was officially our daughter. We went out for ice cream, and she got every single topping she wanted, even the weird ones that didn't match. She grinned the whole time. We've never forgotten what it took to get her. I think that's why it hurts so much, watching people act like she's lucky to have us, like we did her some noble favor by taking her in, as if we're saints for loving our own child. The truth is, we're the lucky ones. Every single day. We know it. We feel it. But not everyone sees her that way, and that's where the cracks started. The first time it happened, I told myself I was imagining it. It was at my sister Jill's house, a few months after Celia's adoption had gone through. The whole family was gathered for Thanksgiving. Turkey, stuffing, my mom's usual passive-aggressive pie commentary. The kids were running around in matching shirts Jill had ordered from Etsy. Each one had their name on the back in gold script. Except Celia didn't have one. She wore a plain pink sweatshirt. When she asked if maybe hers got lost, Jill laughed and said, "Oh, I didn't think you'd want one." You know, because she's more introverted. I started to say something. Then my mom gave me that look. The one that says, "Don't ruin the day." So I swallowed it. Told myself it wasn't a big deal. That next time, I'd speak up. But next time came. And then another. And another. There was the group text about the family reunion, sent to everyone but me. The Christmas slideshow with photos of every niece and nephew, including ones I barely knew, except Celia. The birthday party where every kid got a goodie bag filled with toys and treats, and Celia's had a broken crayon, a pen, and a wrapped peppermint. "She's older," Jill said. "The others are still into that stuff." She was 9. Even when Celia tried to connect, it felt like she was being held at arm's length. The other cousins would form little clusters, whispering and giggling. Celia would hover just outside the group, holding her cup or her plate like it might earn her an invitation. Sometimes she'd catch my eye across the room and smile like everything was fine. Sometimes she wouldn't smile at all. We talked about it, Daniel and I, quietly, after she went to bed. At first, we debated whether we were reading too much into things, whether maybe it was just the usual family weirdness. But then came the night Celia asked if she was just visiting our life, like maybe this was a trial and we hadn't told her. I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I don't think they think I'm real family." That was when I stopped pretending. Daniel sat her down that night and told her something we should have said sooner. "If they ever make you feel small again," he said, "we'll walk away. No more second chances. We don't need their permission to protect you." Celia didn't cry. She just nodded. "Cool." When the cruise came up, I hesitated. It was a big trip. 5 days, shared cabins, meal plans, activities with cousins. I didn't want her getting hurt, but she was excited. She kept asking if she could bring her camera, if there would be snorkeling, if maybe the other kids would finally get to know her better. She said, It'll be different this time. She packed days in advance, picked out her goggles and practiced jumping into the pool so she'd be ready. She kept saying, "I think they'll really like me this time." The morning of the excursion, we all met for breakfast. There were 2 excursions that day, one calm and scenic, one more adventurous. Celia picked the adventurous one. So did the other kids. So did Jill and a few adults. Daniel and I went with the calmer group. We kissed Celia goodbye, reminded her to wear sunscreen, told her to have fun. She waved and said, "I will." She was so proud to be going without us, so proud to be one of them. And then they left her, told her there wasn't room, that Asher wanted to go and he was younger so she should understand. They left her by the dock with her towel and her goggles and a dying phone. She waited 3 hours, and when we found her, she didn't cry, she didn't complain. She just looked at me and asked if it counted. It did. Everything she'd put up with. Everything we'd brushed off. Everything we thought she was strong enough to shrug away, it all came to a point right there on that dock. And when she asked, "Will you do what you promised?" I said, "Yes." No hesitation. No looking around for a softer option. No more being the bigger person. 3 hours later, the group chat exploded, and by dinner, the family was in panic mode. We didn't go back to the ship. We walked Celia to the hotel just past the boardwalk, booked a room, and didn't say a word in the elevator. She peeled off her towel like it was heavy. Her arms were red from the sun. I helped her rinse off in the shower and handed her one of Daniel's oversized t-shirts to wear. Daniel ordered 3 milkshakes and 2 baskets of fries from room service. Celia drank hers in one long sip, then fell asleep on the bed without even asking what was next. By the time she closed her eyes, Daniel had already canceled our remaining days on the cruise. We lost the money. Didn't care. That night, we found a flyer in the hotel lobby for a private snorkeling charter, the exact same kind of excursion she'd missed. It left the next morning. Daniel booked it for 3. She woke up smiling when we told her. No one from the family had messaged us directly yet, just vague texts in the group chat. "Where did you go? Everything okay? We were looking for you at dinner." We ignored them, and that's when the panic started. At first it was just Jill. "Hey, you were supposed to do the dolphin swim sign-ins tomorrow? Can someone please explain what's going on? Where is Lauren?" Then my mom jumped in. "We had everything planned so carefully. This is putting so much pressure on Jill. Can someone just call them?" Then, silence. Like they realized something. Daniel and I were sitting on the edge of the hotel bed watching Celia dip cookies into her milk when his phone lit up with 12 missed calls in 10 minutes. My mom, my sister, my aunt. Then my mom again. Then the cousins started chiming in. "Wait, Lauren and Daniel actually left? Are you serious? What about the group snorkeling on Thursday? We needed their signatures." Then one of the parents dropped this bomb. "Guys, the kids can't do the water park day without 2 more chaperones. We literally can't go." That's when the group chat started melting down in real time. "Who's watching the toddlers now? What do we do about the group booking refund? My kids are crying because they've been looking forward to this all year." The last one was from Jill. "You've ruined this entire trip." That was the one that made Daniel laugh. The low kind of laugh. The kind that only happens when someone finally proves your point for you. We didn't respond. The next morning, we saw blurry photos from the cruise's group chat. Half the kids standing around in street clothes, looking confused in front of the zip-lining banner they weren't allowed to enter. A message from a staff member had apparently made it clear. Too many kids, not enough adults. Rules were rules. Jill tried to negotiate. The staff didn't budge. "It's not safe," they said. "We can't let them in." No refunds. By midday, Jill was texting us directly, over and over again. "We're not joking anymore. You owe us. At least pay for the excursion you bailed on. People are furious." We didn't answer. Daniel put his phone on airplane mode. Celia asked if we could go get snow cones. Later that evening, we got a quiet message from Melissa, my cousin's wife. She said, "I saw what happened. I don't know the whole story, but it didn't feel right." That was the first moment I realized it wasn't just us. We didn't post anything, didn't explain or defend, but the silence around the story, it wasn't holding. I could feel it. People were asking quiet questions, wondering what really happened. Still, Jill was already spinning it. She had a head start, and she knew it. By the time the cruise ended, we could feel the tension building, but we didn't know yet how far she'd go. 3 days after the cruise ended, Jill sent us a long email with the subject line, "What you did to this family." It read like a breakup letter, and a billing statement had a nervous breakdown. She said we'd ruined the vacation for everyone, that our stunt caused excursions to be canceled, that we were financially responsible for the disruption and should do the right thing by reimbursing the group. She even included a spreadsheet. There were line items for dolphin swims, the canceled group dinner, a full-day adventure park package she claimed only existed because we agreed to all pitch in. There was a section called Emotional Toll, and I wish I were kidding. Our parents backed her up. My mom texted me late that night. "This is getting out of hand. Just pay your part and let it go." Then another, 2 minutes later. "Do it for the kids." Ah, yes, the kids. The ones we abandoned by protecting our daughter. We didn't respond. Not yet. Then came the public round. Jill started messaging our extended family, not just people from the cruise, everyone. She posted in the big family group chat about how devastated she was, said she was blindsided by our behavior, claimed we walked off the cruise because of a minor seating error and refused to communicate like adults. She said we embarrassed her in front of her kids. She ended it with, "Some people would rather destroy their family than admit they overreacted." I didn't say a word. Neither did Daniel. For a full day, it felt like maybe we'd miscalculated. No one was rushing to defend us. Some relatives left the chat quietly. Others posted vague messages like, "Family is complicated," or "Let's not fight." Celia noticed the silence too. She didn't say anything, but I caught her checking my phone once or twice, like she was watching the world tilt in slow motion. Then Daniel replied, not in the group chat, just one message. One reply to Jill, copied to everyone she had looped in. It said, "We paid for every activity we used, and many we didn't, including the one you denied to our daughter after she planned for it for weeks. We left because you made it clear again that she didn't matter to you. If this ruined your trip, that's not our fault. It's the cost of your choices." No emojis, no sign-off, just that. We thought that would be the end of it. Instead, it was the beginning. A few hours later, I got a message from Melissa, my cousin's wife. She'd been quiet until now. She said, "I wanted to tell you privately. I saw what happened that morning. Celia standing by herself. Asher running ahead yelling about how he took her place. I felt sick. I'm sorry I didn't say something then." Then another message came in, from Rachel, one of the other parents. "My daughter asked me why Celia wasn't allowed to come. She said Jill told them Celia wasn't really a cousin. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it had been like this for so long." It snowballed from there. People started speaking up, quietly at first, then louder. Someone shared that they'd heard Jill joke at dinner once that Celia was Daniel's bonus child. Someone else said they noticed how Celia was always left out of group photos, how she never had a name card, how her gifts were always generic, last-minute things you grab at the airport. And then Nora, Jill's niece, spoke up. She posted in the group chat for everyone to see. "We all know this wasn't a one-time thing. You've been treating Celia like she's not one of us since day one. I'm not pretending anymore." That cracked it open. By the end of the week, the family was split clean down the middle. Some stayed with Jill and my parents, claimed it was all being blown out of proportion, that we were too sensitive, that kids don't notice that stuff. Others, people I hadn't heard from in months, sent messages saying they were proud of us, that they wished they'd stood up earlier, that they were glad someone finally had. And Celia? She got texts from a few of the cousins she'd never been close to. Ones who said, "I'm sorry." Ones who said, "I miss you." Ones who said, "I'd really like to hang out sometime, if it's okay." We stopped replying to Jill and my parents entirely. We blocked them a few days later after my mom sent one final message that said, "You're tearing this family apart over one hurt feeling." "One?" Celia read it over my shoulder. She didn't say anything. She just got up and went to her room. The next morning, Daniel and I sat down at the kitchen table with her and asked if she wanted to invite anyone over this summer. She said, "Can I pick?" We said yes. She smiled, named 4 cousins, all people who had reached out. We made a group chat, started planning a weekend trip. Small. Just us. And it felt good. Quiet. Clean. Like starting over. We didn't get justice, but we got clarity. We didn't get revenge, but we got peace. And Celia? She stopped hovering around the edges of rooms. She stopped checking her phone for approval that wasn't coming. She stopped asking if people forgot her name. She walks different now. Straighter. Calmer. Like she knows she belongs, because we made a world where that's true. Not by force, but by finally saying, "This is enough," and meaning it. It's been 5 years. Celia just turned 16 last week. She spent the day at the beach with 3 of her cousins. Yes, those cousins. The ones who stuck around. The ones who saw through the noise and chose kindness. They brought cupcakes, not out of guilt, but because they wanted to. One of them gave her a book with a handwritten note inside. She read it twice. She still remembers that cruise. Not the ship or the excursions, but the dock, the heat, the towel she wouldn't put down. She remembers what it felt like to be left. But more than that, she remembers what happened next. She remembers what it meant when we chose her. And so do I. We lost a lot of people that day, but we didn't lose ourselves. Still, sometimes I wonder, did we go too far? Or did we just finally stop shrinking? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe and tap the notification bell.